What if the biblical Mount of Transfiguration is in America, part 2? If you haven't seen part 1 yet, go watch that because this is a direct continuation from part 1. Okay, so in part 1, we went over all the verses from the Bible and also from Josephus in relation to Mount Tabor, which is considered to be the Mount of Transfiguration. Although the Bible doesn't specify that directly, in Christian tradition, that's the assumption. This is Mount Tabor in the Middle East. So we're going to compare the dimensions given by Josephus to the location in the Middle East, and compare it to the location in America that I believe could be Mount Tabor. Again, disclaimer, I'm slightly on the fence with this one just because I'm still researching Josephus. I'm not clear yet on what I think about him. Some of his measurements he gives matches the American model, some match the Middle Eastern model, and I don't want to cherry pick stuff, right? So I have to take all of that into account if I'm going to consider his work. But I'll just show you what I'm seeing. You can tell me what you think, and maybe we'll put our heads together and figure some more stuff out. Okay, so in the Middle East, this is Mount Tabor. It's definitely not 30 furlongs tall, but I believe that's a reference to the road leading up to it. 30 furlongs tall is massive. That's like almost 20,000 feet. So as tall as one of the biggest mountains in the world. There's no mountains that big in the Middle East. There's barely any that tall in America. So the reference to 30 furlongs, I believe, is the length of the road to reach the summit. So what matches about this is that, yes, it is a round circular mountain like he described. It is surrounded by plains like he described. It is technically in the region of Galilee. However, it is 11 miles away from the Sea of Galilee, which is pretty far. I was a little surprised when I read how far away it was. Now, the thing that most definitely does not match is the flat plain at the top that Josephus describes. He says that it is 16 furlongs, and he doesn't specify exactly what that means. I believe that he was referring to like the length of the plain being 16 furlongs, which would be right around 2 miles in length or width, however you're looking at it. However, what he does say that the top has a circumference, or rather that he built a stone wall around the top that was 30 furlongs in length, which is 3.75 miles. He at one point he may reference it as 26 furlongs, which is still over 3 miles. Right around that 3.5 mile mark circumference around the top where he built the wall. If you measure the top of this mountain, which you can go do for yourself on Google Earth, if you measure the top of this hill, even if you're very generous and draw an extra big circle around the top, the biggest I could really fudge it was 1.4 miles. So it's not even 1.5 miles in circumference around the top. So that does not match what Josephus says any way you spin it. Okay, so now let's compare that to the location in America that I believe could be Mount Tabor. Now, this is Utah Lake, which, if you're following me, you know is the Sea of Galilee. If you want to see all of this laid out on Google Earth Maps for yourself, the link to this Google Earth Map is in my bio. Go look at it. It's a little finicky. You have to use the right browser or it won't work. I know Safari works. So right here to the west of the Sea of Galilee is a mountain called Lake Mountain. I've had my eye on this mountain for a long time because it's very interesting looking. It has a big flat surface on the top. And I remember the first time I noticed it, I was like, somebody could have had an entire town or city up there. That was obviously used for something at some point. Here's a view from the top. You can see it's got that nice big flat area, beautiful view of Utah Lake or the Sea of Galilee. Here's another view of those flat plains up there on top. Let me show you the Google Earth image of it here. Okay, here is the Google Earth live image. Now, the interesting thing about this is this entire top of this mountain is closed to the public. It's government property. Look at that view. And I found that extremely interesting because it's a communications area for the government. They have communication towers and all sorts of stuff up there. And one of the words for Tabor, or one of the descriptions of the Hebrew meaning of Tabor, means the ears of Tabor. So it's referred to as Asnoth Tabor, which they think might mean the ears of Tabor. Tabor means peaks or summits. And in Asnoth Tabor means to listen to, is one of the, also to purify. So anyway, thought that was interesting because that government land up there is government communications property. They have communication towers and different things up there. You know, they're listening. So I just thought that was an interesting correlation. I don't know. Okay, so remember Josephus said he built a stone wall around the plain on the top of Mount Tabor that was 30 furlongs. 30 furlongs is 3.75 miles. And depending exactly how you measure this plain, it's open to interpretation a little bit, but I tried to just pick the big main flat areas. It comes right out to that. This measurement I did here is 3.61 miles. So, right in, you could easily make it exactly 3.75 miles or 30 furlongs. And you can go look at this yourself. The link to this Google Earth map is in my bio. You can go check it out, measure it out yourself. So you can see like this kind of flat area up here. The blue line is what I was trying to measure, where he said that there was a plain of 16 furlongs or 2 miles. So I'm interpreting that to mean it was 2 miles long. But then the wall he built around it was, over 3.5 miles. So it kind of looks like, this plain up here is roughly 2 miles long, but then the main big flat part of it, if you kind of make a rough perimeter around it, is right around that 3.75 miles around. I'll just let you guys get a visual here. Surrounded by plains. I don't know. Let me show you the road here. So this road comes down. He said the north side wasn't really, you could hardly get up it. So I'm assuming they didn't go up the north side of this mountain. This is more like the south side. This is the current road. It's just a Jeep track. That's the only road that really goes up there. It's a little more, it's more than 3.75. I have it closer to like 4.5. I don't know. There's another little road trail over here that's about the same length. So it's close, not exact to the measurements he gave. So, I don't know, what do you guys think? Regardless of how you spin it, the dimensions of this mountain and the description of this mountain fit what Josephus says much, much better than the location in the Middle East. So, at first I was definitely sure this was it, but when I started reading more of Josephus, I started having some more doubts because he gives very precise distances and measurements, and not everything lines up with here, not everything lines up with over there. So now I'm just kind of like a little on the fence with what I think of him and his writings in general. If any of you have any insight, if you are a scholar of Josephus, I'm a little new to his work. I would love if you have links or recommendations on more research I could do, or if you just want to share your opinions, I would love to hear them. So let me know your thoughts. I thought it was pretty cool when I started measuring this out. I was just like, oh my goodness, that is a close match. So that's what I got. That's what I'm seeing. I'd love to know what you see.